Persichetti, he taught at Juilliard for probably 30 years. He died, in the 70s, so he's been gone for a while. But the book remains, and people out there know about it. And I'm glad that you all are getting exposed to it, because you're really going to appreciate it. This is his words. Any tone can succeed any other tone. Any tone can simultaneously with any other tone or tones, or any group of tones can be followed by any other group of tones, just as any degree of tension or nuance can occur in any medium under any kind of stress or duration. Successful projection will depend upon the contextual and formal conditions that prevail and upon the skill and soul of the composer. Now that's wordy, but that's the way he writes. But in essence, he says, you can do anything you want. It's really what he's saying.
It's a great quote.
It is a good quote. You can do anything you want with music. Any combination of tones or chords can occur in any order, any which way you want to do it. And the big word to me is he puts soul in there. So it's really the soul, what we bring to it ourselves, our own feelings, and our own skill. So it's wide open these days, and it's been that way for quite a long time. So first, intervals. I also gave you a copy of this. This is on the handout, because this to me is kind of the basis, in a sense, certainly of this first chapter. Now, a lot of this we kind of understand. It's maybe a certain kind of common sense. But let's look at it, think of it in this way for this to start out with. So if we break down the basic intervals, basic qualities of the intervals, because really now, as everybody know when I talk about common practice tonality. Common practice tonality was a tonality that existed from, let's say, Bach's time to about 1870, 1880, maybe even 1900. Right? It was with Bach, it's with Handel, it's with Mozart, all those folks, Brahms, everybody wrote, even Wagner to some extent, with certain common practice ideas, certain resolutions and certain dissonances, and certain functional harmony. Now, without getting into that too much, that got sort of destroyed, really. It got emancipated, is really what they call it. The emancipation of the dissonance happened around 1900. And we had Wagner, and we had Mahler, and eventually we had Schoenberg, and we had Debussy, and Scriabin, and a lot of these gentlemen broke open this mold. So now we can look at the intervals by themselves, without thinking that everything has to go back to some sort of home key. So if you look at these intervals, we can call a perfect fifth and octave open consonances, and that's going to be our open consonances here, kind of the yellow. Then a major and minor thirds and sixths, right? They're also they go both ways because they are going to invert, and that's a soft consonance. Most of us understand that too. Minor seconds, major sevenths are a sharp dissonant. So that's probably the sharpest, most dissonant interval that we're going to have over here. That's these two here, the sharp dissonances, boom and boom. Then we have major seconds and minor sevenths are dissonants, but they're milder. So that would be over here and over here. Now perfect fourth is something that we're going to get into because it can be consonant or dissonant depending on the context. And we'll get into that a little bit. And you all know that fourths always were considered, even in common practice tonality, as an unusual interval. Counterpoint, sometimes you could use them if it's moving, you couldn't use them in certain situations. So fourths always were a little bit, the classical composers weren't quite sure how to do fourths. They certainly didn't have harmony in fourths, but they didn't really quite know what to do with fourths all the time. Now we have the tritone, right? It can be a diminished fifth or an augmented fourth. It's ambiguous. It can be a neutral or it can be a restless interval. We'll get into some.